you doing? Welcome to InFocus Recouched.
Yeah, get ready for some awesome flashbacks from the InFocus archive, including a couple of interviews with people who are making a difference in their sphere of influence, and an answer to the question, is organic food necessarily better?
It's necessarily more expensive, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, that's right. Unless you're growing it for yourself, I guess.
Oh, good point. First up, though, let's check out this segment with Dr. James Wright on an illness that some people say doesn't even exist.
Well, the Doc is back in the house again. Doc Wright, great to have you with us.
Great being here. I just love being here with you, Danny, and I love being with all you people out there. Matter of fact, I love you all. The whole 2.3 billion of you.
Well,
is that what our audience is? I think it is.
I think it is.
Probably more.
And Doc, you know, we never get tired of you, but there are some people out there, it seems, that are getting very tired a lot of the time.
All the time. And chronic fatigue, absolutely horrible. Particularly have aches and pains all over the body, the back, the arms, legs, your middle.
Yeah, my father-in-law's one of those. He's suffered for a number of years.
Father-in-law, please make sure you listen to what we have to say. Now, the question is, does fibromyalgia, is it a real disease? Does it exist? Now, there's been so much work done on this. A lot of doctors say it does not exist. It is not a disease. On the other hand, people say, but I've got aches and pains, and it's a real burden to get through an ordinary day's work, whatever the job happens to be. So some say yes, some say no. Now, the British Medical Journal, which of course is the journal's Bible, it is casting a lot of question marks about, does this really equal a medical condition? Does it really need treatment? Well, it is very sceptical and saying, well, I don't think so. I don't think it really exists.
So what are they saying, Doc? They're saying it's in your head?
Now, they are suggesting that some cases may be between the ears. If you think you've got something wrong with you, have negative thoughts, well, often those negative thoughts come to be. Now, on the other hand, having seen thousands of patients over the last 50 years, I think that if you've got aches and pains, can't find any specific reason for it, like a crook's throat or an infection, then it probably is this condition. So if you've got aches and pains, muscle aches and pains, go and see the doctor by all means. They can at least do something to help. It might be simple old Panadol, paracetamol, you can buy it over the counter. Take 2 of those a couple of times a day. If that helps, that's fine. They recommend walking will often help. Acupuncture helps some. The chiropractor, the osteopath, all these sort of alternative medicine blokes, they can help some people.
Sleep patterns, getting them into a regular.
And think positive. Yes, I'm going to get better. They like walking, swimming, especially swimming in a nice warm swimming pool, which of course we all have in our backyards, don't we? But all these little simple natural type things are worth trying, along with, of course, prescribed medication. Paracetamol, ibuprofen, the thing we talked about a few weeks ago, the codeine type things, brufen and those non-steroidals, they often help. So whatever helps, use it. Heat, cold, hot and cold showers, all those things will help. So whether it's in the mind or in the muscles or in the body, I don't know, and I don't care, but what I do know, I'm going to get my patient some relief and get him thinking right, and he'll get right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Great advice, Doc.
Yeah. I hope you don't get it. If you do, nature will help you also.
Boy, you'd think they would have worked it out by now, eh? You know, whether fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue or ME or whatever you want to call it is even a real thing or not.
Yeah, but don't you think it makes sense to focus research on diseases that are actually killing people, you know, rather than something vague?
Yeah, I guess, but I don't think it's vague for the people who are suffering with it. I mean, for them, it's 100% real.
Yeah, true. Well, it's a bit of a thing for many Christian groups to go on a mission trip to a developing country. So many people come back saying it's changed their lives.
Oh, yeah, they do. And Peggy Kendall is a concrete example of that. Let's take a look.
Peggy has just returned from the Solomon Islands, where she led a team of volunteers to the Atawifi Adventist Hospital, where they provided critical care, and she's just getting ready to take another team back. Thanks so much for being with us, Peggy.
Thank you, James.
So, first of all, you work at a hospital right here in Australia.
Yes, I work at the Mater Adults Hospital in Brisbane. I'm the after-hours hospital nurse manager.
So you take care of the hospital, the nursing staff in the evening, and you also have a very busy life.
Yes, I'm a full-time shift worker, and I have 9 children. 10.
So that's a lot of kids.
Only 4 left at home, but
still, that's your hands full. But despite that, you've gotten involved in a really remarkable volunteer effort.
Yes.
How did this begin?
My local church, the Parkridge Seventh-day Adventist Church, was doing a Fly and Build program in March last year. And my husband was a painter, so he volunteered first. And then my daughter's a nurse, so we decided, well, we had some free time that we would be involved, and went over to the hospital, and they were grateful of our assistance.
So this is over to Atawifi Hospital.
Yes.
To get there, you have to fly to Honiara,
Yes.
and then take...
You can go by boat, which takes 10 hours, or by light plane, which is about 3/4 of an hour, and it's in a remote area of Malaita.
So what's the state of this hospital when you got there?
It's quite run down. They need a lot of work, building work, but certainly from the nursing standard, their practices have slipped. There's no running water in obstetrics.
Wow.
There's no electricity. It's run by generator. A lot of the drugs are out of date, so it certainly needs a lot of help medically.
Wow, so this is like critical needs.
Yes.
So you go over there with the Fly and Build. You provide some healthcare services while your
Yes.
husband's doing the painting.
Yes.
But then you come home to Brisbane.
Yep.
You're working at this incredibly sophisticated hospital with a very, very great depth of resource. What hits you?
My experience over there, when I came back, I realised that I needed to do something more. And hence I set up the Atawifi Angels, the Australian medical team. But that was based on my experiences over at Atawifi, and it was based on a patient that my daughter and I nursed, Helen. And her story, she was an obstetric patient out in the village. She'd lost her baby. The baby had died. She had huge bleeding. She lost about 8 litres.
Wow.
The condition
8 litres of blood.
Yes. The condition that she had in Australia, we have patients die, and we have modern facilities.
Sure.
But here we are there, no intensive care, drugs out of date. She had arrested on us. She had 14 bags of blood.
Wow.
While we were there, the local pastor came and prayed because the doctor had said that she would surely die. Patients with this condition normally would die there. And the chief of the village, he came up and also prayed. And that story, she survived, this lady, in a remote area where there is nothing compared to Australian hospitals. She went home 8 days later, and her father every day was coming up to me, and he said, "Miss Peggy, you 2 white Australian nurses, you are angels sent by God." And that experience impressed upon my heart so much that I felt I needed to do something, and I knew that God would lead me. When I came back, I told the story to my colleagues, and then set up medical teams that we would go every 8 weeks, and I would go with them. And when we're thinking of the medical name, that's how we came up with Atawifi Angels.
So it's from the patient's father. It's an amazing story. Now you have, I think, on the back of your T-shirt here, which is
Angel Wings.
Angel Wings. I love it. And this is a story that comes from the newspaper in Solomon Islands talking about your missions of mercy there, Atawifi Angels. That's beautiful. Now, have you found people interested in going to the Solomon Islands?
Absolutely. We sent our first Atawifi Angels over there in November 2011. I had 5 of us go, and in 3 weeks' time I have another 8, 6 nurses and 2 doctors, and I have nearly 100 people volunteering for the Atawifi Angels.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. So, and it's just spread like wildfire, like everyone wanting to volunteer or give goods, medical supplies to help this hospital re-establish itself.
Well, that's fabulous. So do you have to be a Christian or an Adventist or?
No, just need to be willing to help. It is a spiritual Christian hospital.
Sure.
But it's a marvellous experience. The staff that went with me in November just found it was an amazing place.
So now, it's not the safest place.
No.
There have been incidents, including very tragically the death of an Australian who was murdered right there at Atawifi Hospital about a decade ago.
Yeah, in early 2000.
That's right, and we remember him and of course his family, who must still feel his loss very, very deeply. how do you handle going to a place where there are serious security risks?
Yeah. I felt very safe at Atawifi on the island of Malaita. Everyone was very, very friendly. But I think wherever you go in any mission work, there are risks and you need to take that into consideration. I do trust in the Lord, but the hospital's been there since 1963 and it's only been small amount of incidents have happened.
Right.
So I took that into consideration and certainly I felt safer at Atawifi than I did at Honiara.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of pickpockets there.
Right.
But no, you're in the hospital compound, so.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what are the needs for the volunteer teams as you go forward?
Medical supplies. Just to give you an example, the hospital had no crutches until I sent crutches over.
Wow. Patients
were walking around with poles under their arms, and so now they have crutches for their patients.
That's amazing. Now, if people want to get involved, we're going to put up your contact information right here on the screen. It's right there. You can see it. Medical professionals, who else should contact you?
Doctors, nurses. We can also take any volunteers, you know, just to unpack the medical supplies when we get over there. Cart medical supplies, we're doing up certain projects every time we go. In February, we're setting up a one-bed emergency room for them so that patients come via canoe. Instead of being worked on in the middle of the corridor, they have a set room with a resuscitation trolley now.
That's great. And of course, always, if we can't go as individuals, it's always great to give cash because airline fares over there, shipping, all the things that make this happen, it all happens with money. So
yeah, that's right, James. The shipping container, I've just got the bill, $800 to send medical supplies over there. Right. Airfares over $1,000.
Right.
So yeah, we want to keep this going, and I've given a commitment of 2 years.
Wow.
So we'll just...
And you're going every 8 weeks, so this starts to add up. So you're an amazing person, Peggy. You've got a great heart for the Lord, and you can see that in the way that you treat other people. That's wonderful. I'm sure there's many of you who want to get involved. Just go to that address and make a difference, because there are people whose lives literally depend on us doing our part for God.
Wow, it's so amazing to see, you know, what starts off as this kind of random encounter turns into an absolute passion. And she was passionate, wasn't she?
I know, it was so cool. But it gets even better because Peggy is now the CEO of Atawifi Adventist Hospital.
Yep.
She's been there a few years now, and this year Atawifi celebrates 50 years.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Hey, we'll take a short break now, but don't go away. More InFocus Recouched coming up in just a minute.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Hi, welcome back. Now, tell me, Kent, do you buy organic food?
Look, I have to confess, Dora, no, not really. I mean, look, if I had two options side by side, one was organic, the other one wasn't, and they were both the same price, well, I go for the organic one every time, but they're basically never the same price.
No, never. Well, price is one issue that James Toogood brought up with Sue Rad in this Food in Focus segment. Let's take a look.
Well, it's great to have Sue Rad back on the set. And Sue, you're here to talk to us about organic vegetables and fruit, all kinds of produce.
That's right, James.
What is the actual nutritional value of organic produce over regular?
Well, there's been this long-term debate about whether conventional produce or organic produce is more or less superior, and people have often said the organic must be superior and have more nutrients. But at the moment...
It's intuitive, isn't it?
Well, it is intuitive. But at the moment, we actually don't have consensus when it comes to government authorities on that question. So, for example, back in 2009, the UK Food Standards Agency did a big review of all the research, and they decided there was no difference. Meanwhile, the French Food Agency, at about the same time, did the same sort of review and decided there was a difference, and they said that organic produce has more minerals such as iron and magnesium, and they also said the important thing is that it probably contains a lot more of these phytonutrients, things like polyphenols antioxidants that we think are really, really important for good health and to protect us from chronic disease.
Well, why would they have more of those?
Well, that's a good question. We think it's because organic produce makes more of these nutrients, phytonutrients, as part of their immune system, as part of their defense system, so that insects and bugs and things won't eat them, because a lot of these phytonutrients can taste a bit bitter. So they do it for themselves to stay kind of alive, and yet when we eat them as humans, we also benefit in terms of staying alive and staying away from these killer diseases.
So there's sort of a debate on whether they're more nutritious, I suppose. But what about the health benefits? Because that's sort of a different question, isn't it?
Well, it is. There's the other side, of course, to consider. What does organic produce not have inside? And it doesn't have all those different types of farming chemicals. Chemicals that have been linked with things like cancer or Parkinson's disease. A lot of interest at the moment in terms of exposure to those. But again, it does have a lot of these phytonutrients. And for example, they did an interesting study in Scotland on canned organic vegetable soups, and they compared 11 types of canned organic veggie soups to 22 types of canned conventional veggie soups and even homemade soups just from fresh produce. And what did they find? That the canned organic soups actually had 6 times the level of a particular phytonutrient called salicylic acid.
Wow.
Now, you probably know about salicylic acid.
But I don't know I do.
But you don't know you do. That's right. Aspirin. Everyone's heard of aspirin.
Sure.
Aspirin, the main ingredient, the active ingredient is salicylic acid. Well, that's found broadly in fruits and vegetables, but especially when they're organic.
Well, great. Now, you know, this maybe raises a good question, because I know that soup is a bit on the pricey side. And a lot of these organic vegetables and fruit, they cost more. We're having a tough time balancing the food budget. A lot of Australians are. What should we prioritise?
I think the first priority is to eat lots more fruit and vegetable, organic or conventional, because studies also show that people who eat lots of fruit and veg, even if they don't spend their money on organic, have much higher levels in the body of these phytonutrients. So, for example, vegetarians are known to have much higher levels in the bloodstream of these protective elements than non-vegetarians. But if you were going to buy some organic, but you couldn't actually afford to buy everything organic, the thought really is that the most important things to look for are things that have very thin sort of skins. So such as your root vegetables are carrots, for example, or potatoes, your leafy greens, lettuce, you know, kale, silver beet, and even the fruits with very thin skins, grapes, apples and berries. They're probably the most important.
Oh, thanks so much, Sue. And I guess a takeaway point?
Well, organic produce probably better for your health, definitely better for the environment, but in any case, eat lots of more fruits and vegetables. That's definitely the key.
Okay, so it's the thin-skinned foods that are more likely to take on herbicides or pesticides or whatever.
Yeah.
So what would the thick-skinned foods be then?
I'm thinking oranges, I guess all citrus fruits actually.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Oh, coconuts.
Yeah, that's a good one.
They're pretty thick-skinned. Watermelon maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right. Time for an ad break now. Don't touch that remote. We'll be back in a second.
We live our lives running around, rarely stopping to ask ourselves where we're going and what our final destination is. In the end, our lives become little more than routine. Step beyond and discover a path that offers comfort, love and hope.
Hi, welcome back. We're going to meet again now a guy who's incredibly focused and driven to really make a difference through Christian radio.
Oh yes, Josh Reed. Fun guy. Now, you may have in your area a Christian radio station. Do you listen to it? What do you get out of it? And if you live in Wollongong, perhaps you'll recognise Josh Reed from Pulse FM. Or maybe you won't recognise Josh Reed because you only hear his voice, but listen to the voice.
That's right. I've got a good face for radio, as the saying goes, Kent. Look, thanks for having me here, and it's great to come here and talk a little bit about my new book, Powerful Christian Radio.
Plug. There we go. Powerful Christian Radio. We'll get back to you on where you can get hold of this. So, Josh, you are involved, as I said, with Christian Radio in Wollongong. Also up in Port Macquarie, on the North Coast as well?
Yeah, that's right. I've been running the Christian radio station in Wollongong for about 6 years, and I also mentor a couple of other stations, Wagga and also Port Macquarie Reamer up in Newcastle. Right. And I'm getting more and more involved with Christian Media Australia, which is kind of an unofficial umbrella body over all the Christian radio stations and perhaps other media in Australia.
Okay, so why are you passionate about Christian radio?
Well, the funny thing is, Kent, that when radio came out, everybody thought it would replace live theatre or live events, and it didn't. And when cinema came out, they thought that would replace radio, and it didn't. And when TV came out, that was called new media back then.
That's right, video killed the radio star.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it didn't replace cinema. And the internet hasn't replaced TV or radio or cinema or live theatre even. So there's all these different mediums that we have to choose from. And really the only difference with today's media and media 100 years ago is 100 years ago we had about two different ones to choose from, live media or live theatre and radio, and now, and a little bit of cinema maybe, and now we've got a whole lot more to choose from. But the fact is that radio listening is actually growing. And it's an interesting thing. And the great thing with radio, of course, is that you can reach anybody. Yeah. So you could be the hard-nosed, toughest guy out there, anti-Christian, saying that if you walk into a church, the roof will cave in, that whole thing. Yeah. You might... you might just knock Christians wherever you go, but if you are alone in your car, you can actually feel free to listen to Christian radio, and nobody will ever know. It's not recorded like things are on the internet. It can't be traced. You can't find out what the person was listening to, but yet somebody... toughest nut in the world can be scanning the channels, come across the local Christian radio station and perhaps receive a timely message.
Something that frustrates me a bit, Josh, is we Christians have a tendency to, if we're going to start a social club, I'm interested in four-wheel driving, so we'll get a couple of my Christian mates together and we'll have a Christian four-wheel drive club. Or, a couple of ladies might get together, we'll enjoy knitting, so we'll have a ladies' Christian knitting circle, When there's a perfectly good community craft group right there at the community hall, there's a perfectly good four-wheel drive club, just in the next town over. Why do we need a Christian radio station? Aren't we just sort of secreting ourselves away from the world when we do that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The whole thing of in Matthew, when Jesus gave us the Great Commission, as we call it, to go into all the world, tell everybody what I've done, make them disciples. Jesus never said, go and grab all those disciples that you make and form a Christian knitting group. And that's the question that my book is based around. It's the question that my book seeks to answer is Christian radio a ministry? Because if it is just another Christian thing, is it a Christian movie? Which
Christian entertainment.
Which only Christians watch.
Sure.
Are you a comedian? Oh, yeah, but I'm a Christian comedian.
Oh, not that funny then.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that. We're on the same page. Yeah, exactly. Or I'm a Christian singer. Or what does that mean? Not that good. I'm a Christian plumber. Oh, okay, so you can't actually do the job. We have this weird mentality in the modern day church in the West, in Australia and other countries, where we do form these little Christian groups. And so Christian radio, the local Christian radio, it's got two choices. It can either be Christian entertainment, just playing music, having teaching on, at totally 100% catering towards Christians, or it can choose to be a powerful evangelistic tool that goes into places that the local church cannot reach by themselves, and predominantly the front seat of somebody's car.
Which is what your book is about. So is radio an evangelistic medium? I mean, how many baptisms have you seen from, Pulse FM in Wollongong?
Yep. Well, we hear lots and lots, hundreds and hundreds of stories come across my desk, throughout the years that I've worked in Christian radio. And some of them are very normal, like, you know, just normal people getting encouraged by Christian radio. But some of them come from remarkable situations. And they usually go like this, Kent. Dear Josh, this is how Pulse or whatever Christian radio station changed my life. I'd never heard of the Christian radio station before, had no knowledge of it.
Yep.
I was scanning through the channels. I was really depressed. I wanted to hear some good music. I found your station and I heard some music that I was familiar with, and so I kept on listening. And then I heard a Christian song or like a God spot, a positive minute, something positive, or maybe a Bible verse, and it reached me, it touched me at the right place at the right time.
Wow.
And I fell to my knees crying, hopefully not when they were driving, but this is what some of them say.
Yeah.
And I've gone back to reading my Bible, and some of them even say they've gone back to a local church.
Wow.
So this is the aim of Christian radio, and I believe it's the purpose of Christian media, really, is to serve and grow the local church.
Yeah.
We're not becoming a church ourselves. We are here to serve and to see the local church grow and thrive, and be a strong presence in our society.
Okay, so in your book, Josh, you give 11 tips for how a local church can get involved with their Christian Renick. So can you just give us one, just to give us an idea of where you're headed with this?
The simplest thing is let your Christian radio station know what events you are having on. If you've got a speaker coming, or, well, let's just say that. If you have a speaker coming that you want people from outside of your church to come along to, then let the Christian radio station know about it. But don't let them know on a Friday for the coming Sunday. They won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Give them months' notice, if possible, or at least 4 to 6 weeks' notice. They would love to put your event on air, give it some great promotion, and fill your church.
There's a community service announcement, basically.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, well, and look, there's plenty more tips here in this book, which you can get from where, Josh?
You can get it on Amazon. Just there's a Kindle version and the paperback version that you're holding there on Amazon.com.
Okay.
Or you can order bulk copies through my website, joshreedmedia.com.
There you go, joshreedmedia.com. Okay, well, in your best radio voice, Josh, how about you sign us out?
All right, this has been Record in Focus with Josh and Kent.
It's just great to see someone getting stuck into what they love doing. Have you been involved with radio before?
Yeah, I did do a little bit in Cairns. I loved it. A bit of Christian radio, community radio.
Cool.
It was great. And honestly, Dora, the bolder I get, the better radio sounds, I reckon.
You know what? You'll be fine. There's no reverse camera angles here.
Oh,
so.
yeah, you've got that right. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on InFocus Recouched this week. It's been an amazing ride.
Yes, don't forget that all our videos are online for you to enjoy and share with your friends. Our website is, of course, record.net.au.
Check it out. Look after yourself. We'll see you next time.
God bless.